In this video, we talk about the requirements and preparations, our provisioning, and our sail plan for traveling to the Republic of Cuba. Last time, on Sailing Balachandra, we sailed to Dutch St. Martin, then to French St. Martin, and we were blasted by a jet airplane.
Hi, if you're new to the channel, I'm Noelle.
And I'm Dan.
And we're Sailing Balachandra. We sailed all the way from Nova Scotia, Canada to the Caribbean.
That's right, we're sailing all around the Caribbean now, and if you haven't subscribed to our channel, just go below this video, look for the big red subscribe button, and press that button. Hey everyone, if you watched our live stream that we did back in Antigua, you would know that we were planning to go to Cuba. Cuba is our next destination after St. Martin. We are currently in French St. Martin. We were just in Dutch St. Martin. If you watch our last video, we give a little tour of the island and show some of the things that we've done here. But now we are planning to leave here and go to Cuba. Cuba is not close by. It's going to take us about 5 days to get there, I think. If you look at the map, St. Martin and Cuba are not very close together. We have quite a distance to cover to get there. And there are places we could stop and check in along the way, but we've already been to the USVIs, we've been to the Dominican Republic, and because of increased COVID numbers in other countries, we're going to skip right through and go to Cuba where we know we can get in. We'll be leaving from St. Martin, we'll be passing the British Virgin Islands and the US Virgin Islands, we'll be passing Puerto Rico, we'll be passing Dominican Republic, Haiti, and then we'll be in Cuba. It's a long stretch. The DR and Haiti are very large, and Cuba itself is quite large. But downwind, with wind and current on our side, we should get there a lot faster than we expect. Most of our friends who have been doing any downwind sailing in the Caribbean typically arrive like a day early to where they're planning on going. Cuba is open. We're Canadian, so we're allowed to go there. Our government allows it, and Cuba welcomes us. Our Canadian dollar is actually usable there. They take Canadian currency in Cuba. After hearing that Cuba was open, it was really important for us to check and see if we could take Zeus there, because a lot of countries are very strict about dogs. For instance, a lot of the British countries, Turks and Caicos and the British Virgin Islands, the paperwork is intense. They may take him away and quarantine him during our stay. They're much more strict. The Cayman Islands is especially strict, and we were worried that maybe Cuba might fall into those categories. So we checked it out, but it's not. It should be as easy to take Zeus to Cuba as it has been to go to most of the Caribbean islands. They follow the same protocols. We need an up-to-date vet certificate. He has to have all his rabies vaccines up to date and his titer test. But we keep all that current with Zeus because those are pretty standard travel requirements when you're taking a dog with you from island to island. We're pretty excited about sailing downwind. We haven't done a lot of sailing downwind, to be honest, and sailing downwind is probably the most favorable wind angle for most sailors. Our boat actually sails so well upwind that sailing downwind is strange to us. It feels different, and if you watched our last video, you'd see that we had a bit of a struggle with our autopilot trying to keep her, on track going downwind. But I've done some research and talked to a few people, and I think I figured out a way to have our autopilot work better for us going downwind, and we should have less trouble with it. When you're visiting Cuba from east to west, you have your choice of going north of Cuba or south of Cuba. There's places to check in both locations. If you go north of Cuba, there's limitations to where you can go. The rules are that you have to stop in bays where there's a marina, and you will have to check in to each marina as you go across the north coast of Cuba, and you're not allowed to anchor or stop anywhere else. But if you go the south of Cuba, you can cruise the island chains down there, the Garden of the Queen. You can stop in some of these cities, but we're allowed to anchor at most of the cruising spots and any deserted island that we see. There's no restrictions like there are on the north coast, and there are also a few cities where we can stop and hopefully get some supplies along the way, or if we have an emergency. And there's a lot of history, and it's a beautiful place to cruise, and relatively deserted because there will be no American boats there. Maybe a few Canadian boats, some international boats, but from what I've been told, we're pretty secluded along most of the south coast of Cuba, but we're looking forward to that. If you're planning to arrive in Cuba, there's only certain ports where you can do a customs clearance. On the north, there's Puerto de Vita, but we'll be traveling along the south coast. We plan to do our customs clearance in Santiago de Cuba. We plan to clear out in Havana, having done the entire south coast of Cuba and coming up around to the north. Aside from the beauty and remoteness of South Cuba, we're excited about the fishing. Because it's fairly remote and because it's not heavily overfished, so the chances of catching a fish are much better. So we're excited about that. We were told that we'll be catching enough fish to fill our freezer. I guess if you, even just in shallow water, you could find lobsters, and just trailing a line in shallow water, you can pull up a decent snapper. So we're pretty excited about the fishing aspect as well. It's really important when you're planning to go to Cuba to consider what you'll do for food and water. It's also a good idea to bring products that you can barter. Because it's a communist country, they don't have the same trade relationships that the rest of the Caribbean has with other countries, and I guess it's difficult to get certain things for them. So if you were to bring, household products and use them to barter, you can actually barter for, maybe fruits and vegetables, so we'll find out. The other thing is water. For anyone that's been on vacation in Cuba, you'd know that it's probably not a great idea to drink the tap water there, and most people don't. So you need to plan ahead. So if you're like us and you don't have a water maker, you need to think in advance about how you're going to store and carry all the drinking water you're going to need while in Cuba. Now you can go to a marina in Cuba and fill up your tanks with the local Cuban water, but it's recommended that you do not drink that water. So if we end up doing that, we'll keep our drinking water and our utility water separate. Hopefully it'll rain and we can collect some rainwater, but I mean, you never know. You can't count on that. So we've been busy here in St. Martin provisioning the boat, buying food, picking up stores. Today I was looking into gas, propane, and diesel to make sure we're well stocked up on all of those. Recently I added extra insulation to our freezer and our refrigerator so that we can keep frozen goods longer or freeze things that we need to freeze. We had a difficult time before because the fridge really had inadequate insulation. The fridge would just run all the time and we kept thawing out the freezer, so I added quite a bit more insulation to the freezer, and now we're able to freeze stuff. So that's going to be a really big help when we're in Cuba, especially if we catch a big fish and need to freeze some for later. We're going to be bringing a lot of extra water storage. We've got extra cans to fill, small water jugs, and anything we have on board that we can fill with water, we'll fill it. Internet can be a concern in Cuba. If you've been watching our channel for a while, you'll know that Noelle and I have been to Cuba. We shot some footage there on vacation. At that time when we were there, to have internet with our Canadian cell phones meant we needed to go and purchase local SIM cards. And I remember it wasn't great. You paid like $1 for maybe 100 megabytes or something of data, which was really actually quite terrible if you're thinking internet, especially for us if we're trying to upload videos to YouTube. But I checked with our Sprint phone, which we've talked about many times on this channel, and it turns out that Cuba does have some relationship with Sprint, and technically our Sprint data phone should work just like it's been working all along, so hopefully we won't have that issue, and we'll still be able to upload videos on time for you guys from Cuba.
So we're pretty much ready to go. I did a little bit of food prep last night. I didn't do a whole lot, as much as I wanted. I figured that it'll be calm enough for me to do some cooking underway this time, fingers crossed. Dan said that our window is like narrowing a bit this morning, so I'm a little nervous about that, but
not bad.
Worst comes to worst, we'll just tuck in somewheres and anchor for a bit and have a little snooze and wait for the weather to pass if anything does hit us. But yeah, we got our reply back from Cuba. We're all set to go, and we're looking forward to filming this 5-day journey, and hopefully we capture some good stuff for you guys, so be sure to stay tuned.
There's one little update from Cuba. When they accepted us and gave us permission to come, they also mentioned that we needed to have a PCR test from St. Martin before we left, so we had to run out and get a PCR test done yesterday. So I mean, it's a little change and it costs a little more for us to go, but they're not too expensive here in St. Martin, so it's not that big a deal. But if you're going to Cuba, expect to have a PCR test before you go, and then you'll have to have another PCR test when you arrive, so go figure.
Their emails seemed really excited to have us. They seem very welcoming, so...
Yeah, ready to go. So yeah, we'll catch footage underway, and you'll be able to hopefully get our next video on time, arrival in Cuba. And if you want to track us while we're underway for the next few days, you can go to our Garmin InReach tracking page. It's available if you go through our posts on Facebook. We posted it a few months ago, but you can scroll down and find it. And I believe we also posted it on Patreon. So you just have to look for that, and there will be a link you can click and follow us on a map as we sail from St. Martin to Cuba for 5 to 6 days.
Stay tuned, you guys.
All right.
Bye.
See ya.
Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this week's video, please don't forget to leave us a like or a comment below. We enjoy reading those.
And if you haven't subscribed to our channel, just go below this video and look for that big red subscribe button and press that button. And if you haven't checked out our Patreon page, it's always a good time to do so. Patreon is a place where you can give back if you like what we do and you want to support us. Thanks. See you later.